Now, welcome to another edition of Battle of the Heroes and Villains, where this time we'll be taking a look at the results of the poll for Cal Kestis from the game Jedi Fallen Order. As usual then, we'll be comparing his results to all the other characters we've done thus far, before I then read and respond to some of your comments. But before we get to all that, you can already nominate and or vote for which character we'll do next. Just head down and respond to my pinned comment below with a character name, or vote with a thumbs up if they're already listed. Whatever comment gets the most votes in the next 24 hours or so will be the winner. Alright, and now on to the results for Cal Kestis, where we'll see that 25% of people gave him an A, 57% thought he belonged in the B tier, 14% gave him a C, which left 2% to give him a D, and a final 2% to give him an F. And so when we do all the math here and consider A a score of 5 and F a score of 1, Cal Kestis ends up with an average score of 4.01. And that then puts him into 24th place overall, in between the two Fets, a little lower than Jango, but a little higher than Boba, which might seem a bit surprising till you remember Boba was ranked before Season 2 of The Mandalorian, and is probably due for a revote at some point in the near future, maybe after the first season of the Book of Boba Fett. Anyway, I think this is a rather impressive score for a quote-unquote video game character, so let's now dig into the comments, and do be warned there will be major spoilers ahead for the game, and perhaps find out why he fared so well, but not before I once again say thank you to everyone who votes, comments, and watches the videos. It's all greatly appreciated. And now let's begin, as always, with the top-rated comment, which this time came to us from Curtis Creates, who said, Cal had a really interesting story of how trauma affects people and how to overcome it. Just because he was damaged didn't mean he was useless. His vulnerabilities make him very relatable, and his struggles with his own mentality is one of the best in any Star Wars story. A grade from me. And I agree. I certainly think throughout all of Star Wars, Cal's just might be the best and most realistic and relatable look at grief and or trauma and the real impact it often has on a person. I mean, when it comes to Luke in The Last Jedi, for example, we sort of see a more extreme reaction or response to it. And though there are certainly those who shut down completely or hide from the world or do something even worse when something horrible happens to them or in their lives, more often than not, however, your average person tries to struggle on and keeps going through the motions and might not even realize just how much something is bothering them or holding them back until they finally face it, or maybe they never do face it. Which is why Cal's story is so great, because, again, I think the way he's handling it or not handling it at the start of the game is very similar to the way most people in the real world would have, or as is his progression to finally overcome it, which feels very natural and organic despite the setting and story itself being obviously very fictional. And all of this is why I think there were tons and tons of comments where people said they could relate to this character and his story, why they could connect with him, and why he's already one of their favorite characters in Star Wars. Because the truth is, we will all go through horrible things in life. We will all lose people we care about. We'll all face traumatic experiences. And yes, they will often knock us down. But we don't want to believe they'll destroy us like they did with Luke. And we want to see that we can eventually take steps away from even the darkest of places to find our way back to the light, like Cal did in this story. Alright, and next up here then we have this comment from Bruce Bain, who said, Jedi Fallen Order and The Last Jedi basically have the same message. Failure is essential to grow stronger. However, Fallen Order doesn't need senseless characters or a contrived plot to get the message across. We all know how his journey to find Force-sensitive children will play out, because we've seen the original trilogy, but the MacGuffin isn't the point of the story. Cal and Sierra come to learn that your past doesn't have to define who you choose to be, and that our mistakes are what help us become better people. It's cliche, I know, but it hits on a message applicable to anyone at any point in their life. Solid A. And I think you really hit the nail on the head here. Jedi Fallen Order and The Last Jedi more or less have the same message. One I do agree with, that failure is or can be a great teacher, but The Last Jedi just feels too contrived and overplayed, or overstated, you could say. It's so overt and in your face that Yoda literally says what the message is in the movie. And along those same lines, all it takes is that little 3-minute pep talk from Yoda to bring Luke back from utter despair and being completely lost, and you wonder, why did Yoda wait so long to do that? Whereas for Cal, it's this well fleshed out journey. And yes, I understand the game had much more time than the movie did to tell everything or to explain the story, but things could have still been handled much, much better in Episode 8. Alright, and moving on now, we have this comment from Xavier who said, Cal wasn't a Mary Sue, which was awesome. He started off pretty weak and scared, but then over the course of the game, he went through a lot and became braver. I'll give him a solid B+. And you know, the funny thing is that a lot of the times in video games, characters are basically Mary Sue's or Gary Stu types. The ones that you play anyway, not necessarily the side characters. Games are one of those times, since we're the ones literally playing as this character, where it's kind of okay to be overpowered and to easily be able to take down your enemies and to get through everything kind of unscathed. A lot of people love a game or games like The Force Unleashed for this very reason, not that it's the only reason people like those games. And though yes, you're still playing as a Jedi in Fallen Order, and Cal has some pretty cool abilities right out of the gate, and you get some much more powerful ones later on, you never feel too overpowered. This certainly is not The Force Unleashed. And early on you get bested by Second Sister, then there's the Ogdo Bogdo that can be quite humbling, or at least it was for me. And though you do win some big battles throughout the game, it ends with having to run from Darth Vader, and a not so subtle reminder that much to learn you still have as a Jedi. Okay, and next here we have this comment from Fulcrum Studios who said, trust only in the Force. Even though that is a quote from his master and not him, that alone was an A for me. He did what Qui-Gon did, followed the Force even when there was little hope. Also, we have this one from Luke Skywalker who said, trust only in the Force. Seeing a Jedi besides Obi-Wan, Yoda, and Ahsoka dealing with the trauma of Order 66 was amazing. Jedi Fallen Order is what got me to look forward to the future of Disney Star Wars again, after The Last Jedi killed my excitement for Disney Star Wars. He's a solid A. I can't wait to see where his character goes next. We also have this one from Big Boy who said, when Cal realized that destroying the holocron was the best thing to do, that was the most Jedi thing I've ever seen. Being a Jedi isn't about using the Force, lightsabers, and wearing robes. It's about letting go and making the best decision for the galaxy, not yourself. Also, we got this one from Loco Joe 122 who said, failure is not an end. When I heard those words in that cave, it struck something I haven't felt in a game for a long time. Also, we have this one from Scott Adams who said, not by us, their destiny should be trusted to the Force, which is a quote from Cal Kestis at the end of the game. And he has an edit that says, hopefully this will be read by Thor, so I would just like to say thank you for the hard work you put into this incredible channel. And first of all here, the thanks really has to go to all of you. This channel is nothing without the people who watch it, who participate in the polls like this one, and take the time to leave some really terrific and well thought out comments, which all just makes this the best and coolest experience of my entire life. It is an honor to talk Star Wars with all of you. That said, I do think a Jedi like Qui-Gon Jinn would be quite proud of the one Cal Kestis becomes during the course of the game, from one who has a broken relationship with the Force to one who understands and trusts completely in the Force, who has enough faith to destroy the holocron in the end, which is essentially a list of Force-sensitive children if you don't know. He understands that if it's their destiny to become a Jedi someday, then they will. If not, then the Force will take them where they're meant to be in life. But one way or the other, hopefully anyway, they won't be found by the Empire and the Sith if the holocron is destroyed. Next up then, we have this comment from Dimebag505 who said, thought he was a good new character and liked his backstory. Would have been good to see him in The Mandalorian working with Luke. Also, this one from Johan M who said, he is one of the best new characters there is and has a solid story arc in the game. He evolves and experiences, and the big turns are really touching. I'd love to see his story turned into a feature movie someday. Also, there's this one from Creed who said, man, I hope we get to see Cal in live action since it's like too perfect of an opportunity to not. And I think it was very wise, not to mention intentional, to have Cal Kestis and the actor behind him, that being Cameron Monaghan, look pretty much identical. And I think it's a trend that will continue in a franchise like Star Wars going forward, having voice actors in games or animated shows that oftentimes look like the characters they're playing just so they can easily be brought or pulled into live action. And I certainly think there's a really good chance we'll see Cal Kestis in live action someday, and maybe not in The Mandalorian, but perhaps in whatever show we'll eventually get that will feature Luke and Grogu, because you better believe we will get something like that after the response the last episode of Season 2 of The Mandalorian got. Not to mention Grogu is the most marketable new Disney Star Wars character, and Luke lost a lot of his marketability after The Last Jedi, and I'm sure they'd be happy to get some of that back. Though, yes, here if Cal survives beyond the events of Return of the Jedi, that just makes Yoda's line to Luke about the last of the Jedi will you be even less impactful than it maybe already has become, considering It seems like there were plenty of Jedi left out there, not to mention there was Ahsoka, who, though technically not a Jedi, may as well have been one. But really what I think Yoda is trying to say here is that Luke is the last hope when it comes to stopping Vader and Palpatine, not so much that there aren't any more, not a single other Jedi out there anywhere. But again, it's just that Luke is the only one that has a chance of stopping the Sith. Okay, next up here we have this one from King Nothing, who said, I thought it was a great game, I really enjoyed his story, felt very immersed, but I just can't justify giving him an A. I like Cal, but I don't think he's up there with other fan favorites like Vader, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, etc. Then there's this one from Matthias Finley, who said, I thought his story was compelling and that scene in the Kyber Crystal Cave was really good, but he's, at least to me, at an immediate disadvantage because he's a video game character. B for me, though, because I do really like him. Then there's also this one from David Frederickson, who said, he is good, but I need to spend more time with him to love him, so it's a solid B. And I certainly understand not wanting to give him an A and thus putting him basically in the same category as a Vader or an Obi-Wan, which is part of the reason I wish YouTube let you have 6 options for these polls so we could have a S tier. But anyway, I do agree we could use a little more of him before regarding him as one of the best characters in Star Wars, which isn't to say he can't be one of your favorites or that he doesn't deserve the 25% A's that he got. Only that I think there's a lot of story left to tell when it comes to him, and that in time and depending on how and where he's used, he could certainly be up there with the truly great characters of Star Wars. He has that kind of potential. And going along a bit with what I was saying to the previous comments, I think seeing him in live action will, of course, not only expose the character to more people, but it will make him feel a little more legitimate in the eyes of some. Which isn't to say a character in a game or an animated series can't be great. They certainly can be and have been in the past. Only that I think seeing a character in live action sort of solidifies the character in the eyes or minds of some people. Like they're more real that way, if that even makes sense. Okay, and kind of going along with that, we have this comment here from Darth Malik, who said, I feel it's harder to connect to a character when you are playing as them. In a story-driven game, I always find myself liking the side characters more than the main character. And I certainly get what you're saying and where you're coming from here, and I think it depends on the game and how you play as your character a lot of the time. I mean, I think Cal is easy to connect with or to as a character in a story, but as for a character in a game that you're playing, it's harder in some ways. I mean, Fallen Order is a very linear game, or at least the story is. Whereas a game like Knights of the Old Republic, for example, though it's also linear in a lot of ways too, it still allows you to play the character how you want and dictate the story to a very large degree. I mean, Revan basically starts as a blank slate. He doesn't remember anything about himself, and so it's easy to kind of project yourself into the character. And then you get to, again, make actual decisions and decide who he'll become as you're actually learning about who he was before. All in all, it's a very, very clever and unique way to do a game and is reminding me about just how much I really want to do an in-depth video on that thing. But for now, let's get to just a few final comments before wrapping this up. Starting with this one from Selenium Forest, who said, personally, I believe Cal Kestis has one of the best character arcs in all of Star Wars, and the overall story of Jedi Fallen Order is a favorite among the content that has been put out by Disney. Definite A for me. Then we also have this one from the atrocious Anchovy69, who said, Cal just resonates with me. He grows up from a shy, scared boy into a more confident and outgoing man. I thought his development from his issues with his master were good, and the game was great. A for me. Also this one from the Dancing Fish Stick, who said, he's alright, I like him and he serves his purpose as the protagonist. Then there's this one from the Pancake Spy, who said, he had a solid arc going from a scared little kid to a true brave Jedi Knight. His relationship with Sayer, Marin, and BD-1 were well handled, and his arc was good overall. Also, there's this one from Tin Can YT, who said, you would be wise to surrender. Yeah, probably. Love this quote and Cal's character. A. Next up here, this one from Vanya G, who said, Ahsoka and Cal are both probably the most relatable characters in Star Wars. But Cal is relatable in a different way. His trauma and mental illness is explored much more deeply and is really compelling and relatable. Sometimes he feels more like a real person than any character in Star Wars. Solid A. And finally here, this comment from Connor Ryan, who said, I really like Cal. I think the success of his character is the combination of game mechanics and story to illustrate his story of trauma, failure, struggle, growth, success, and change. Cal starts the game weak, scared, uncertain, willing to help, but reluctant. But as he progresses, as he faces his past, gets over his fears and anxieties, he grows, and you as a player grow and become stronger with him. And it's a long, hard, and rewarding journey, with failure and regression sprinkled in, with progress and success. His is a great story. Well said, and I very much agree. It's an amazing, well-crafted story or journey that you get to go and experience with Cal, and it's also a really good or fun game to play, which may have some impact on his score, which is part of the reason I would love to see him separate from it and in a live-action show perhaps, to maybe be part of Luke's Jedi Order at some point in a series on Disney+, which of course has the same problem Grogu does, that being what happens to him after Luke's order falls apart. Does he get to go through another crazy experience like he did with Order 66? But again, let's not go there for now. Well, that's all I've got for this time. Now it's your turn to tell me what you think of Cal Kestis, or what I or anyone else had to say about him here in this video, or you can feel free to nominate and or vote for which character we should do next. Either way, leave a comment below and let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.